Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, I received a number of comments yesterday talking about the wilderness and where I was located. Well, today I've got the exact same thing for you. In fact, we've got sunrise. So I'm out here first thing in the morning to talk about the morning news, so come along with me on my morning walk and let's go over a bunch of different stuff. However, before we get fully into it here, let's just take another look at this view. I mean, this morning is absolutely gorgeous. We're right at the end of the fall season in terms of the leaves changing, but there are still enough on the trees there. You can see the sun just peeking over it's not a mountain, it's kind of like a ridge. So first up on the docket, we're talking about Emuze. And for those who may be unaware, Emuze is an emulation front end designed to simplify your retro gaming experience. It automates the configuration of each emulator, including seamless gamepad integration and automatic import of games along with their metadata. And Emuze just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, Emuze version 0.57.0 is the latest release. And taking a look here, and this is a pretty big release, there's a whole bunch of bug fixes, updates, and brand new features. For example, they've added new systems here that it's compatible with, including Xbox, also Sega Mega LD or Pioneer Laser Active Sega PAC. Furthermore, Emuze now pre-configures XEMU, Melon DS, and Flycast. It maps keyboard if no controller is connected for XEMU. It maps keyboard if no controller is connected for Flycast. And even more, they've even reduced the file size of Emuze. And speaking about handy applications, next up here we're talking about SaveState. Now in the outro to my videos, I often say, or I always say, don't tempt fate, save your state. It has nothing to do with politics or anything like that. It's talking about saving states in video games. Anyways here, that's kind of besides the point what we're talking about right now. SaveState just got a brand new update. So for those who may be unaware, SaveState is a user-friendly GUI application for Windows and Linux to easily back up and restore video game save files, especially useful for games without cloud saves or for managing multiple save locations. So at the time of filming, version 1.4.6 of SaveState is the latest update. And if you're a fan of RetroArch, you might be a fan of this update. They say here, massive RetroArch integration. SaveState now detects your RetroArch installation and cores. Features a new streamlined setup dialog to select a core and then identify its corresponding game save files. And that is very handy in my opinion. And on top of that, they've introduced a brand new portable mode, Dolphin GameCube Memory Card.gci support, per profile backup overrides. And there's even more improvements and fixes here. For example, instant restore with no restart required. Restoring configuration files, profile settings, favorites from a backup now applies all changes immediately. No application restart is required. If you are interested in this one and wanted to learn more about it, like everything we talk about, links will be within the GitHub link in the bottom of the description below. I don't hide my sources. Moving on, and we're switching from software to hardware, and we're talking about Anbernic. And Anbernic has just teased some brand new gameplay on their upcoming Anbernic RG DS. And it seems this thing is going to play Nintendo DS games like everyone expected, and also possibly a few Nintendo 3DS games, just nothing overly heavy. The top comment on their YouTube video, at least for me, says so it'll play some lightweight 3DS games and probably the majority of DS games. This is a good budget option, and I would agree with that. Curious to see the price, the release date, and the overall specs here, and possibly what else it can handle. The fact that it does DS it should be a given in my opinion, but 3DS here is a pleasant surprise. And speaking about nice surprises, next up we're still talking about hardware and talking about the possible upcoming PlayStation handheld. And there is a lot of chatter on this one right now, but there is a possible first look at Demon's Souls Remake running on the next PlayStation handheld. So there are some screenshots that popped up. This may be real, it may be fake. I'm not certain at this point in time. It's currently a rumor that's being heavily talked about. And this is Demon's Souls running with the PlayStation 5's power saving mode. Not sure on this one whether or not it's real or fake, but it is rumored that the next PlayStation handheld will launch alongside the upcoming PlayStation 6 at 2027 or somewhere thereabouts. I'm guessing as time goes on, we're going to learn more and more and more about the possible upcoming PlayStation handheld as well as the PS6. So expect a bunch of leaks. Some may be true and some may not be true. Taking a look at this one though, this looks more true than not. I can't put my finger on whether or not it's real or fake at this point in time. It's way too early. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below whether or not you think there's something to this or if it's nothing. But moving on from that, and next up we're switching from nothing to something and talking about DOSBox Pure Unleashed. And I think we talked about this one just a while ago. Anyways, DOSBox Pure Unleashed just got its very first release here. For those who may be unfamiliar with it, DOSBox Pure is a fork of DOSBox, an emulator for DOS games, aiming for simplicity and ease of use. This project is a standalone version for desktop platforms of the Libretto core. So at the time of filming, DOSBox Pure Unleashed 1.0 Preview 3 is the latest and greatest release. It's the first release. They say here, this is the first public release of DOSBox Pure Unleashed based on version 1.0 Preview 3 of the core. Again, if you're interested and wanted to learn more about it, everything we talk about, links will be within the GitHub link in the bottom of the description below. Next up, we're shifting back from software to hardware and talking about the Intellivision Sprint and Atari. And you have to see it to believe it, but there's a brand new video on YouTube that I would recommend checking out titled Intellivision Sprint Announce Trailer. And yes, Atari is releasing this thing. The top comment, at least for me at this point in time, says, "Don't tell me Tommy Tallarico is behind this. Pat and Ian will have to restart the podcast." Anyways here, this thing is real and it's going to cost about $150. So this upcoming Intellivision Sprint is slated for release on December 5th and comes with 45 different games. And some of those games include baseball, soccer, Star Strike, Boulder Dash, and even more. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. But moving on from that to something arguably a little bit more controversial, depending on how you wanted to look at it. And we're talking about a quote from Miyamoto, and I don't think this one's being well received at all. Anyways, the article is over on Japan Wire by Kyoto News, and it's titled, "Nintendo Capcom Stepping Up Efforts to Bring Video Game Worlds to Big Screen." And it's talking about the recent involvement with Nintendo in movies. So based on my understanding after reading this article, I don't know if this was in English initially or if this was a translation and maybe there's a mistranslation here or something. But anyways, when asked about why Nintendo is getting involved in movies, this is Miyamoto's response. "Games eventually stop running when newer versions come out, but films remain forever." I would highly disagree with that statement. I'm not in agreement at all. Let me know your thoughts about that one. Games eventually stop running when newer versions come out, but films remain forever. I'm shaking my head at this one. I mean, a couple of things here, and I think that was a raven just flying around. I don't know if you can see it. Try to lean down so you can see the camera pointing up. I don't know if you can see the raven there. Anyways, or is that a crow? One of the two. I think it's a raven. If I'm not mistaken here, the games industry is way bigger than the movie industry. And secondly, the price you pay for a game is significantly less than a movie, arguably, depending on the game you like. But a AAA game arguably is way more expensive than a movie. And I play a AAA game way more than I'd watch a movie, way more than I'd pay to continue watching a movie. Could be wrong with that, but let me know your thoughts. Now, I'm not going to go on a rant here because I could spend a lot of time talking about this one and we've got more news to get to. But I'm not going to reference the Stop Killing Games initiative. I'm not going to talk about the NES and SNES mini classic consoles that Nintendo released with old games on them, and some games with many new versions of. I'm just not going to talk about that stuff at all. I'm not going to talk about retro gaming, not going to talk about NSO and the popularity of that, and all of this stuff they've got locked behind paywalls on NSO of old games on old systems. Anyways here, I'm just going to stop and move on to the next segment. I'm hoping that was a mistranslation. I'm hoping Miyamoto doesn't think that way. But moving on and still talking about Nintendo, kinda. Next up, we're talking about 8bitdo. And 8bitdo has just unveiled their NES40 Collection, which is kind of surprising given the price point of some of these products, or one of these products in particular. So there are 3 items in total as part of this NES 40th Anniversary Collection, or the NES40 Collection. And they are the Ultimate 2 Bluetooth N40 Edition, which I think looks absolutely gorgeous, the Retro 68 Keyboard N40 Edition, and the Retro Cube 2 Speaker N Edition. So their Ultimate 2 Bluetooth NES 40th Limited Edition controller is priced at $80 overall, or $79.99 if you wanted to be specific. The Retro 68 Keyboard NES 40th Limited Edition is priced at $500. Or $499.99 if you wanted to be specific. and the Retro Cube 2 speaker is priced at $50. Now, not joking with you, when I first saw that price point of $499.99, I thought it was a typo on their website, and it turns out it's not. But this is also not a beginner keyboard. It's got a full aluminum build, a hot swappable PCB, Kale box, Ice Cream Pro Max switches, gasket mount, 68 keys, RGB backlight, and even more. It's wireless at 2.4G, has Bluetooth and wired. Now, I don't know about you, but $500 for a keyboard is a little bit rich for my blood. I'm more inclined to be picking up the 8bitdo Retro 108 for $91.99 USD, currently on sale. $500. I mean, let me know your thoughts about that price point. I mean, it is worth noting that that $500 does include a mouse as well, but $500. Maybe it's worth it. Maybe I'm off base or out in left field thinking that that price is super high, but let me know. And on top of that, the controller, I think, is one of their best looking ultimate controllers. Pre-orders are up right now on the 8bitdo website, so if you are interested, feel free to check it out and learn more about it. And speaking about expensive, next up here, we're talking about the exact opposite. We're talking about free. And there's a brand new tool that just popped up on GitHub that you might be interested in if you have something like a Legion Go or a ROG Xbox Ally or Ally X. And it's called the SteamOS Dual Boot Installer Patch. So they say here in the description, patch the official SteamOS recovery installer so you can install SteamOS into already created free space on your SSD without wiping your existing Windows install. I think that is absolutely huge for these devices. Huge hat tip to the developer on this one for developing such a great tool, such a practical tool. And they did test this one on the ROG Ally X. Let me know your thoughts about this one. And speaking about software, next up here, this is a real quick one. If you're a fan of DayZ, I didn't call it DayZ, DayZ 2 is reportedly in development, and this was leaked via a job application. Now, it is worth noting that DayZ 2 has not been announced, not officially yet anyway, and maybe it won't be announced. Maybe this is for something entirely different. But anyways, the quote is as follows on the job application or job posting here. A new unannounced game that could impact the studio's future. And this is for the senior artist environment. Now, taking a look at the reception on this on Reddit, on this Reddit post, and there's a whole lot of jokes here. I mean, this person says, I haven't even finished the first DayZ. And the next person replies and says, they haven't either. Let me know your thoughts. And speaking about unannounced stuff and rumors, next up we're talking about Halo. And I don't think we're gonna have to wait too long to really learn about this one. It's being reported that Halo Studios is working on a separate multiplayer Halo game, and it's going to be a long-term live service project like Fortnite. I've got no idea if this is going to be real or fake, but taking a look here, this seems like it's going to be a separate title entirely to what's going to be announced on October 24th. We'll have to wait and see on this one, but let me know your thoughts about a long-term service game based on Halo. And speaking about shooters, next up here, we're talking about Duke Nukem. Specifically Duke Nukem 0 Hour N64. And if you're a fan of this game, you might be excited to know that the decompilation project has reached 100% complete. Now, it is worth noting that decompilation doesn't automatically mean something like PC port. We're going to have to wait and see on that one. But I am curious to see what happens moving forward with this. And speaking about seeing what's happening moving forward, last up here, we're talking about thin smartphones, specifically from Samsung and Apple. And there are some really interesting rumors flying around that the Galaxy S25 Edge as well as the iPhone Air are not doing so hot. Now, it's worth noting that these are current rumors, but there's a rumor out there that Apple is going to be drastically reducing the production of the iPhone Air. Even though there were reports of this thing selling out completely in China. Maybe they just had a really low supply and maybe it just sold lower than they thought it would. I don't know. On top of that, the Galaxy S20 Edge is rumored to be the last Edge device from Samsung. So with these rumors of Apple slowing down production on the iPhone Air and Samsung stopping development on the Galaxy S26 Edge, it just seems as if thin smartphones, extra thin smartphones, are not the way of the future. Let me know your thoughts. Next up, here's your fluff. Here's a tiny chipmunk just having his morning meal and we're not bothering him too much at all. Let him just enjoy his meal there. These things are super cute. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. There were a couple of fluffs in there. Anyways, we talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.